G'day Blindies, welcome to another edition of Yarning Cars. This one's about crazy bus touring. Now you guys know I do a lot of travelling on buses, and I love travelling on buses. There's a reason for that. Many years ago, when my daughter was less than a year old, her mum and boyfriend and me all chipped in. We were up Queensland, travelling around, and a friend of ours had a bus and we liked the concept of it for travelling. And we managed to find this bus in Ipswich, Queensland, in a caravan yard in Goodna. And this was a really old bus. Like, I'm going back to the mid-90s. We purchased it, and it was manufactured in 1957. It was a 1957 Bedford school bus, pretty close to a Partridge Family bus. You could open the back window and it popped out, really cool. Had a big 6-cylinder petrol motor with a head on it that you near surf on. It had rust. It was chalky light blue with a white roof. Inside it was pretty tidy. Someone had panelled it all inside, and we'd set it up so that it could sleep 4 people. Me, my partner, her mum and her boyfriend, and my daughter, Megan. We had a little cot in there and everything. It was quite a cool little setup. But we purchased this bus in Queensland, and my father got crooked down in New South Wales, and I had to get back to New South Wales to make sure he was okay. Unfortunately, he passed away 3 days after I got down here, but such is life. He had a good innings. He was a great man. But this bus, driving this bus from Goodna in Queensland down to Port Macquarie in New South Wales, it had no registration, half an exhaust system, no air cleaner. The motor run really good. Gearbox is good. Brakes, optional. Depending on if you're going uphill, the brakes worked fantastic. Going downhill, you were really praying you got that next lower gear to slow us down. But we managed to zip tie, barbed wire, sticky tape this bus all the way down from Ipswich in Queensland to Port Macquarie. And some of the things, like the exhaust fell off halfway down, so it was loud as all hell. Had a top speed of 85 kilometres an hour. The accelerator cable broke probably around Ballina, I think it was, and we just proceeded to take the engine cover off, grab some rope, and you had to drive it by pulling a bit of rope and holding it around the steering wheel. It was pretty much like cruise control. It wasn't too bad, actually, and we drove it like that for a while. Then when we finally got to Port Macquarie, we repaired the exhaust, put an air cleaner on it, proper accelerator cable. We even managed to get the brakes half working. From there, like when we drove it down, I followed this bus in a Daihatsu F50 four-wheel drive, little, I think they call them a Scout, but it was a great little 4. Had external cage, twin tanks, diesel, strapped my daughter's car seat in the passenger seat, and away we went, follow on the big blue pig. We eventually took this bus down to Colo River in Sydney, which is another really interesting road. And they drove that bus down there, and they proceeded to stick it on a slab on the side of a mountain, and the last I heard, the slab collapsed, the bus went down the mountain, Fires went through the Colorado River a couple of years later, and the bus is still sitting down the bottom of this ravine, burnt out, unfortunately. But what a legend of a bus. It did kilometre after kilometre, like, not fast, but today, I'd be stoked. I'd be in heaven. It was such a cool, unique thing back in the 90s to drive around in a 50s school bus. And, like, you'd overtake us, and if people would honk their horn because they get stuck behind us, and when they overtaken us, we'd modify the stop hand. Like, you had this handle you had to pull, and it flicked a hand out to tell you to stop. Back in the day, well, naturally, we bent the fingers down, and if you overtook us, we'd give you the finger, and especially if you're bipping your horn. And just to cruise down the highway in an old bus, the people we'd meet and talk to at the servos and caravan parks and that just, had memories of, I went to school in one of them buses, rah, rah, was really cool. So there's another episode of Yarning Cars, the story of the big blue pig. And I love that thing to death, and unfortunately, yes, it did die. But it died an honourable death. It was a good home, and I bet some of the stories it could have told if it could talk would have been better than this one. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed. Keep your tires down and Stop recording.